Hello everyone, good evening. So today we are going to learn pega rule circumstancing. Okay, so first we will try to understand that what is rule circumstancing and in what all scenario we use. Okay, and then we will learn that how we can do the rule circumstancing. Okay, so the first thing is what is rule circumstancing. Okay, so as name suggests circumstances, so based on some circumstances, some conditions, we can specialize our rules. Okay, or we can create a multiple versions of rule. Let's say that you have a one rule, okay, where you are setting that interest details, okay, or you are setting let's say uh, customer details or some kind of a offer for customers. Let's say, and you have a two type of customer. One is that subscribe customer, okay, who had subscribed the services for a particular company, and one other type of customers who haven't subscribed. Okay, so you want to give a different kind of a behavior to two different kind of users, you can circumstance that rule. Okay, so in circumstancing way you can implement some features for these two type of customers. Okay, so that is where you can like create a different versions of rule. Now you can ask questions that why I cannot do, okay, based on the customer type. Let's say you have a customer type, as I said, subscribed and unsubscribed, right? So based on that you can handle that in that if you're creating activity data transform any kind of a role, you can do it with the when rule as well. Yes, you can do with the when rule as well, but sometimes to handle the exception scenario, as I'm saying, right, this subscribe non-subscribe, you can create a circumstance rule as well. Okay, and in future if you think that no, I want to give the same features to both circumstance, like sorry, subscribed and unsubscribed users, okay, you can like disable that the circumstance rule as well. Okay, so we will try to learn that. Most common, like when we use mostly, okay, so one of the most common business scenario where we circumstance that rule is that, let's say you have some changes. Okay, so your applications is already there in productions. Okay, now some requirement is came to change the flow. Okay, so changing flow is one of the complex things in pega, because if you change that flow, let's say if you are trying to add an assignment or remove an assignment, okay, so that the same assignment has a number, okay, so that gets changed. Okay, and if that is getting changed, you need to handle it very carefully. So one of the scenario here we can use a circumstancing, that we can say that after certain date, okay, or if this condition is matching, okay, then only execute this rule. Okay, so you can do it with this, like the new cases will execute with the new flow. Okay, let's see if you have circumstance that particular flow, right, and the old cases will execute with that existing flow. So in that way your in-flight cases will be taken care. Okay, so in-flight cases will resolve with the older way, and that new cases will process through that new flow. Okay, so that is where also we use the circumstancing. Now in how many ways we can do the circumstancing? So one is a single value. Single value is very straightforward. Let's say you have a location's name or the country name or that like customer type. Based on that you can say that if this is the customer type, execute this rule, if this is the customer type, execute that rule. So you can do that. The second one is date property. You can give a date property. Okay, that let's say that event date. So event date is, if event date is falling between this and this, you can give a start date also, and you can give a range also. So let's say that in March, okay, let's say if your tax ended, right, so March the tax ended, something like that. So within that period of time, if you want to set, okay, a particular business rules, you can do it with the date property also. You can set some like date range. Okay, so that is where you can use the date. Okay, and the third is that as of date. So as of date you don't have to give any property. What happens is that will take the system date, okay, and then again it will compare with that start and end date. So date range we can give. Okay, we can give a start or end date, but you don't have to give a property. Instead of your property, it will take the system property. So based on the system property it will calculate. And the fourth one is multivariate. So if you see the first three is, it's just taking either one property or it's not taking any property. But what if you have to add more complex conditions? Like let's say if you want a combination of single valued and date property, like okay, that if the month is March, okay, and then date range is this, then execute this rule, let's say. Okay, or if the country is this, okay, or the let's say the customer type is this and the age of customer is this, So then you cannot combine, okay, with the first and two options. So then things come to multivariant, okay, where you can create a template rule, okay, I'll show you, and then you can add multiple conditions. So this is the four way you can circumstance any rule. So let's go and see some of the as an example, okay, in Pega. So I'll show you a very common one, okay, common example. So I have not created a complex one, but in your applications, obviously, it won't be that easy example, okay. And if you see in most of the applications, you will notice that the people have modified that get next work list view, okay, to cater multiple different LOB requirement, or you'll find mostly you'll find in your project, if you really go and look, okay, then you'll find that people have circumstances activity, okay. So these two rule commonly you'll find that people have done the circumstancing or the flow as well, okay. So let's go ahead and see that, okay. So here if you see, I have a very simple example, okay. So here let's say that I'm trying to create one event hosting application. So I've already created that, okay. Let me quickly show you. One second, my server is in sleeping mode. Okay, so it will work now. So here if you can see that, okay, so event, okay, and event name and locations date, it's taking just 3 properties. So I have configured, like added, I'll try to create a circumstance rule based on this event location, okay. So as of now I have just created a pre-weather detail. So this is the pre-weather detail. So this is the weather details screen. So here you can see that country is populating USA, because I have created a rule, okay, pre-weather details, and in this one I have set the country by default USA, okay. So now whatever with the locations I'll give, let's say if I'll say Kolkata, New Delhi, etc., it will always give me USA. Now let's assume, okay, so as I'm explaining you, this is a very simple example, okay. So if this kind of a simple one is coming, you can handle with that condition also, like, right, you can add more like when rule or the preconditions, and you can do it, okay. But this is just for explaining you, okay. But when you do, or when you decide that when I should go for circumstancing, you need to consider multiple things, okay. And the best example I gave you, that if you are going in production, sir, you wanted to modify the flow, or like if you wanted to modify for a specific date range, that just apply this rule for a particular month. So in that kind of a scenario, you can go with circumstancing. So now here what I'll do, I'll be circumstancing this rule, okay, and set that, okay, that if I'm entering location equals to Kolkata, then set the country equals to India. So that I can do it here as well in the next step, but just to show you, I'll be doing with the rule specializations, which is circumstancing. So here you will get the options. So in save as, here you need to click on that, and here you can see the two options: specialized by circumstancing, specialized by class or rule set. So specialized by class or rule set means you can change the class or rule set for this rule. So let's say if it is there in hosting, you can save as in work class. So that we call as specialized by class or rule set. So I'll be using these options. So the moment I'll see, you can see that. So this is the create data transform rule form. So these options we usually don't see, but when I've selected a specialized, we are getting this option. So now first we'll see that property and date, okay. Template one will learn, okay, after this. So here you can see that now I'm getting an options to select a property or date property and give some value. So as I said, okay, so the single property we can give anything, and date property also we give, okay. So this is for single value, this is for date property, and if I'll not give anything and just give a date range, so that will compare with the system date and act as a as of date, okay. So that's that options. If you see, we have a single variant, date property, as of date, okay. So this is the three options which will be happen by selecting this option. So now let's just select this one, that so event details dot event location, okay, and I'll say, let's say Kolkata, create and open, and now here I'll set that India. So now what will happen, so if I'll select, now let's execute that and see that which rule is getting executed, okay. So let's create a new case, okay, and I'll trace that, okay, and I'll show you. Click on trace, okay. I'll not execute now, let me create case here. And so event locations is already London, okay. So let's trace and see that which rule is getting executed. Click on continue. So we should see the value USA, which is coming correct. Now if you see here, let's search that pre-weather details. So you can see that which rule is getting executed. Okay, so it is getting executed without the circumstancing one. Okay, that is where the value is getting set. Okay, USA. Okay, so now let me change that. Okay, location and execute it again and trace it. So we'll see that which one will execute now. So this time I'll be just entering Kolkata, and this is a case sensitive, so your value should exactly match. And here you can see that, so the moment you'll click on circumstance, you'll see that here that what value we have given. So we need to, I mean, here I'll simply copy and give here. Let's click on continue. Let's just see that. Okay, here pre-weather details. Okay, so we will see that which rule is getting executed. Okay, let's see that here. See, the value came India. Okay, so this is how you can see that I didn't change anything, I just changed the value, and depending on the value it is executing different rule. If I see here also in py workplace, it's a setting India. So we can see somewhere, see, it's a setting India. Earlier it was setting USA. So this is the first way to circumstance. This is a very common one. Okay, and this kind of examples we can use. Let's say if you want to customize or circumstance based on country, or if you want to circumstance based on a department, or based on customer type, based on like LOB. Okay, so in this kind of a scenario you can use this circumstancing. Now let's see the other one. Okay, so other one is again similar. Okay, so you can try with the date range. Okay, so let me click again here, and I'll just show you okay how we can do it the other one as well. So specialized by circumstancing. So let's say if you want to do with the date property, so your property should be date type. So here you can select event details dot event date. Okay, it's not coming because it's just like expecting date property, but here I have object. Okay, and in that object I have the date. Okay, so I'll simply say event date, and we can give here some value. Okay, so this is how we can circumstance. Okay, for that date range. So you can see that here again we can see that. So this is the property and this is the start date and end date. Okay, so this is how we can do for the date circumstancing. And what about the as of now? Okay, so let's try that one also. So we can clear this as well. Okay, and we can just keep start date and end date. So this will act as of now. If we see this, so see here it's complaining also that this rule already has a circumstance, date property and defined event. You cannot give it another one. So let me change this value and see that. Or maybe we have already circumstance. Okay, for the date. Okay, now that's where it's not allowing us. Okay, so maybe we need to delete this one. So basically what pega is saying that we cannot have a date property and as of date, okay, at the same time. So we can have either single value, or we can go with either date property, as of date, or date property. So if I'll delete these options, then I'll be able to create as of date. So as of date, it's just that there is no much difference between as of date and date property. It's just that one is taking property. Okay, I mean like against which property you want to compare, and the second one is it's directly comparing with the system date. So now let me create. Okay, so we can see that this time, okay, we'll see that simply that it started and ended. So if that start date, okay, so let's say that today's is matching. Okay, today days is matching, that will execute this rule, otherwise it won't execute. Okay, so based on this range it will compare with the system date. Okay, so we have the server date or system date, right? So like if you just say that px create date time or something, so that property, okay, or system date time, simply that property it will take and it will execute that rule. So very simple. Okay, so we as of now we learned these three. Okay, single value, date property, and as of date. Okay, now we will try to understand the multivariant one. Okay, so this is where we need to create a template rule. Okay, so let's just see that. So now let me delete this one, and let's try to create a multivariant. Okay, so in this one, what I'll be doing, I'll be creating locations name and event name. Let's say that location, and I had two property right here, okay, on my screen. So I had like event name and location, so I can consider event date as well. I'll just combine these two and I'll try to create, or I'll try to specialize. So here, So the moment I'll select specialize, so now it's asking to select a template. Okay, so first what we need to do, we need to create a template rule, and where we'll find a template rule. Okay, I think we should be finding under technical. Let's see, when I have forget template, let me see, or maybe in process data model. Yeah, here in technical knowledge, so you can see this substance template. So let's create that substance template. So we can say event. Okay, just I'm giving a name event. Okay, and we can create in our hosting class. Let's create in our hosting class. Okay, and then here we can give that the value. Okay, like property we can select. So let's say event details dot location, event details dot location. Okay, and here we can give the value Kolkata. So let's have with one only and test it. Okay, but it will be conflict. Okay, so I'll change that name. Okay, and here maybe I'll say like that. Okay, so because we have already circumstance on Kolkata, right? So here I've given London. So here we can add more. So this is what I was saying, that we can add more and all will work in a AND condition. Okay, so now let's go ahead here and try to do that. Template. Okay, it's not coming. Sorry, here it's just a label. Okay, so we can say that location, and then we need to create another rule, template definitions, and in that one we will give the condition. Okay, let me see that. Okay, locations, let's try here template location. So I'll say event, and we will create a template definitions as well, or substance definition. So let's create in that one, we need to select that which template we want. Okay, so we had already created event, so here we can say that, and we will be selecting our on class. Here we can also give an event. So here see, it's taking from that one, right? So here we can give that if locations is this, then do. Okay, then it will execute. So here we can give that location. So if I'll add one more, it will already. So let's say in this definitions I want to add another one. Okay, so I'll say date as well, or maybe I'll say event name. So then there we will see two, event name, and then here we can say that event locations, and then event name, event location. So basically we want to, this is just we're creating a templates on these two. I want to create a conditions, and the definitions for this one we are going to fill in the template definitions. Okay, so you need to create two rule. Okay, if you want to go with the template, let's say if you have multiple conditions, then you need to create two rule. One is the template. Okay, and then the second is the template definition. Now let's see here we got. Okay, so event locations, so let's say event location, I'll say alone, and then an event name is, let's say 01. So then this rule, if this will true, then this rule will get executed. Okay, so now we have done. So now with this we can circumstance. So we have a template name, and then we have a definition also for this. So both I gave the same name. So now we can circumstance. So it's saying this rule already circumstance property defined, event locations. So it's complaining because we have that, like, so you cannot like have multiple circumstancing on the same property. So we have already circumstance on that locations. That's where it's complaining. So it has like some rule. Okay, so now I deleted that one as well. So now hopefully we should be able to circumstance that one. So let's just see that. Yeah, so basically on single property we cannot use that say one property in multiple circumstancing conditions. Okay, because otherwise it can be conflict. Okay, that is where Pega is also stopping. So now we have created that. So here our the condition is event equals to event. Okay, so here I'll say if it is London, then I'll say UK. And event name what we gave, okay, event name 01, and locations equals to London, then it should set UK. So let's try and see that if that rule is getting executed. So here I'll say, let's try first. So it is setting USA because that event name is not matching. So let me write event name equals to also 01, and then let's see if it is setting UK. See, it is setting UK. So this is coming from this rule. So we have two versions. Okay, one is that no circumstancing where USA, and the second is circumstance based on the template definitions, and template has that the conditions in the template we have is that location equals to London and event name equals to this, and we can, so this is like a more like a decision table, so we can add more conditions if you want. Okay, so this is like if else conditions. Okay, so you can have like multiple conditions, and this is where this is giving the flexibility. Okay, so if this conditions is matching, it will execute this one. So it has a two versions, and you can see that as I'm writing this details, it's matching, and based on that it's like calling that rule. So now let's see that, okay, sometimes some questions in people ask in interview questions that where you'll see this circumstancing rule. Okay, so if you go to that class, okay, and that rule, you can see both the versions there. Okay, let me show you here. If you click on hosting and then in data type, data model, data transform, so you can see that, okay, in pre-weather details we are getting expand collapse. Okay, so this is where we have that, okay, we have one base rule, and the second rule is that event equals to event, basically the template, and then template definitions name is coming. So this is where you can see that. So now all done. Okay, so we understand all. Again, let's revisit quickly. So single value is where we want to simply put a conditions based on the LOB, department, or any single value text type property. The second one is date property, where we are going to give a date. Okay, and we can give a start and end it. Okay, date range. Okay, in that date range, if it is falling, that it will execute that rule. Okay, and as of date, it will calculate based on the system date. It won't, you don't have to give any property. Okay, and the fourth one is the multivariant, where you need to create a two rule. Okay, one is the template. So in template, you can just simply define that these are the attribute, or these are the property I'm going to use, and you need to create the definitions for that template. In that one, you need to give the value. Okay, that with this value. Okay, if this value is matching, then it will execute this rule. Okay. Now the last thing is that, let's say that you are done. Okay, your exception scenario is done. Let's say you deployed a flow. Okay, and then you are saying that, okay, previous cases, the cases executed before this, okay, it will execute with the old flow, and now the new things will get executed, okay, with the new flow. Now your all pre-flight like cases is resolved. Okay, so in next release, you don't want to keep the two version of that rule. Okay, because now every case which will be created newly, that should follow the new flow. Okay, so why you will have the two versions? So you don't want to have the two versions. So how we can do that? Okay, how we can make that the new rule as a base rule? Okay, so for that, what we need to do, we need to save as that rule and mark that rule as a base rule. So let's say we have this country equals to USA, and this one, where is that? Let me close this one, few things. So we have two versions of rule. Okay, so let's say in future, if you just want to execute this one or this rule, okay, as the base rule, so what we can do, we can save as that and mark this rule as a base rule. So you can save as that in a highest rule set versions and just mark this as a base rule. So if you do that one, then what will happen, regardless of these conditions, it will execute this rule only. So now let me see that if I'll select that locations equals to 01, and then like event name equals to 01, and location equals to London, still it should set USA. Let's see if it is doing it or not. Go back. Okay, maybe let's see why it's not executing. Maybe I need to save as in highest rule set version. Okay, let me try again, or let me try with the new case. Event name equals to 01. No, still it is doing. Maybe I need to save as that in a highest rule set version. So let me try that. Okay, quickly I'll create a new rule set version, and I'll mark that rule as a base rule. So this I did it. Okay, and this is, let's say this is my the first rule. Okay, so this is the without circumstance one, and this is the circumstance rule. Okay, so I'll save as this rule, pre-weather details. Okay, and save as, simply create an open. I'll select 02, and mark this. This is a base versions rule, base rule. Let's select this as a base rule. Okay, and let's see which rule is getting executed now. So we can trace as well. See, it's a setting USA. So what happened? Okay, even though we have circumstance, like earlier we have circumstance, we have save as that the base rule. Let's say that, as I said, right, that now you want to execute only one flow. Okay, so because the date, whatever like all the in-flight cases is resolved, so you don't need that the two versions of the flow. So what you can do, you can save as in next versions, you can save as that flow and mark that rule as a base rule. Okay, so first you need to save as that, and then here you'll get an options. If you click on available, you'll get an options to save as a base rule. So sometimes in interview, or in if you're going for CSA or CAAS, you'll get these kind of questions. Okay, where you'll get like this is the rule versions 1, this is the rule versions 2, and then they'll say, okay, this is the rule version 3 circumstance, and then later we have marked that as a base rules. So then which will get executed in rule resolution? So this kind of questions you will get it. Okay, so the highest versions, okay, the base rule of the highest versions will get executed. So I mean, you need to understand that where like in which versions the rules are there. Okay, but if it is the highest version, so the most of the time the questions it will be like, okay, you have one circumstance versions, one base version, something like that, and finally you save as that rule in a highest versions rule and mark that base rule. So then they will ask that which rule will get executed. So obviously the rule which have been marked as a base rule, okay, and that is there in the highest rule set versions, that will get executed. So I think I have covered the whole like all scenario for that circumstancing, and also that example, the flow one which I gave you, right? So most of the times for that kind of a scenario, people create circumstance rule. Okay, so you try, okay, do the POC and let me know if you face any issue. I can help with that. So that's it for today's sessions. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.